On today's Locked On NBA Game Night podcast, Kevin Durant seems very frustrated with what's going on in Houston. The Clippers might have gotten themselves another statement win. Are we buying into LA yet? And the Bulls, well, they remain the Bulls.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Let's get it going on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Thanks to you every dayers who listen to the show every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking NBA basketball. I'm Ryland, Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. We take you through every Thursday across the season to get you set with what happened tonight in the association. David, we'll get to your Miami Heat later in the program. They're preempted by the Houston Rockets and the Philadelphia 76ers. And here they come, Philadelphia. The Sixers get an OT win, 128-122. Let's head out to Locked On Sixers and see how this game unfurled.
Tyrese Maxey helps the 76ers to a 128-122 overtime victory over Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets. Now, there never should have been an overtime period, blown call or non-call by the referees, as Kevin Durant clearly had a goaltend on Tyrese Maxey's layup that would have given the Sixers a 2-point advantage with 3 seconds left in regulation. The Sixers did go on to the overtime period, and Tyrese Maxey kept pouring it on. 17 of his 36 points came in the fourth quarter in overtime combined. Meanwhile, Joel Embiid, how about a triple-double for the big man? He comes up with 32 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists. Paul George also helping the cause for the Sixers, coming up clutch in overtime with an assist, with a rebound, with a clutch 3. And also Kelly Oubre started over Dom Barlow and made Nick Nurse look smart. He drops in 26 points on 10 of 14 shooting.
What a win for Philadelphia. It could have been in regulation, probably should have been in regulation, but alas, a win is a win as Maxey goes for those 36 points. And Joel Embiid got a little bit of revenge. Furkan Korkmaz said that Alperen Şengün might have been the best center he'd ever played with, and then Embiid showed up today in a big way. 32 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, already back out there trolling on social media, back to his MVP days on both the court and on the social media streets. But while this was an impressive win, Kelly Oubre, 26 points on 71% shooting for the Sixers. The story tonight for me was Kevin Durant, who dropped 36 himself on 61% shooting, but went to the post-game press conference after this one and said how frustrated he was with the fact that something's got to change, that he's over here scoring 35 a night just to have a chance to win these games for Houston, and that they're a better team than this, and that they have to get this change. David, what have been your thoughts on the Rockets both tonight and kind of that sentiment from Kevin Durant of how sustainable this is to have a guy like this that you see is kind of fighting to just get this team in contention right now, night in and night out?
Yeah, I think it's a far cry from where a lot of people expected that Rockets team to be at the start of the season. Obviously, people kind of viewed them maybe a tier below your Oklahoma City Thunder, but certainly still within contending status. And that just hasn't been the case. It's been too much KD and not enough everybody else. Even tonight, you got Jabari Smith going 5 of 15, Şengün going 5 of 14, Tyrese going 5 of 12. Like, that's not going to get it done. And Philadelphia is a fine team defensively, but Houston should have been a little bit more supportive. And I think tonight was perfectly emblematic of that, where you're not getting the kind of supporting production from the rest of this roster the way that you'd expect them to. So, I mean, I understand a guy like KD getting frustrated, especially at this stage of his career. He thought joining a team that was as good as the Rockets were last year and adding to that seemed like a natural fit, and obviously that they'd be far superior to what they've been this season. So that just makes a lot of sense for him to be as frustrated as he's been this season.
Yeah, I think that it makes sense for KD to be so frustrated. If he, is going to feel that way. I mean, they're obviously a better roster than what they've presently shown. They're obviously better than what you would expect to be the output so far of this season. But whenever you look at it, I think that the defense is there for Houston on a nightly basis. Obviously tonight, not exactly a banner night for them in any regard, but they have enough pieces to where on paper, they just should be a lot better than this. And that's perhaps the most frustrating part here. But David, when you look ahead at the rest of the slate in the NBA, we did see rivals week continue. Some of these rivals have not been so great. They've been some weird matchups. The Thunder Bucks was a rivalry. I don't see how that happened. Some of the other rivalries didn't make a lot of sense, but this one does. The Battle of LA with the Lakers and the Clippers. Let's go out to Locked On Lakers to hear more.
Zanny Kamenetsky, co-host of the Locked On Lakers podcast. The Lakers lose 112-104 to the Clippers at Intuit. Terrible first half for the Lakers. They gave up 64 points. They turned the ball over 8 times. Kawhi Leonard, 14 points on 6 of 9 shooting. LeBron James, Luka Doncic, difficult time scoring. Things were so bad that Dwayne Wade actually wondered while calling the game if the recent ESPN story about Buss family drama between Jeannie Buss and Clutch had the team just in a funk. But during the second half, after being down as much as 26, they really cranked up the defensive pressure. They went on several long runs, but ultimately just ran out of gas. Big story of this loss, getting out-rebounded 49-34, gave up 13 offensive rebounds. It really undercut a lot of great defensive possessions or just hard work in general. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you're watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, from one frustrating situation as Roosh and other Rockets beat members, describing how frustrated Kevin Durant was, to another one where it's like the Clippers, they've turned around their frustrating season to the Lakers now, dropping this game, and they've lost 112-104 to the Clippers. And these teams have had almost polar opposite seasons, it feels like, in some ways. Clearly with the Clippers starting out so poorly, but then the Clippers, they start to kind of feel a middling ground with these injuries where it's like Kawhi was back tonight. James Harden, of course, has been steady for them. Zoo is back. And then for the Lakers, their injuries, they're still impacting them. Obviously, there's been no Austin Reeves recently for them, which is a massive loss to this team. And if he would have played in this game, would have had a profound impact on it. And it feels like the Clippers have a lot of confidence and a lot of things to build on here recently compared to the Lakers, who've been a little bit more up and down over these last few days. But this was a big win for the Clippers. This was a big moment for them. And we've been talking about them all year long about if they are really a bottom 3 team in the NBA like they showed early on. Are they really going to make this play-in push? Right now they sit at the 10th seed. Has your feelings on the Clippers swayed at all?
Well, I mean, I think I was I was high on them to start the season. Obviously, that didn't pan out the way I thought. But then when they started turning it on, that felt much more realistic. I mean, look, maybe the Chris Paul drama was just too much. And obviously, that's kind of what torpedoed the start of their season. And they kind of feel like they've turned it around. So I see them, and I think they'll probably be a solid playoff team. I mean, they might even get out of the play-in tournament the way they've been playing of late. 8 of 2 over the last 10 games. Just 6.5 games out of the 7th spot now. So maybe getting a six seed over the Lakers is probably unrealistic. But you know what? I've seen stranger things. I don't know. Maybe the Lakers seem like they're heading in the wrong direction, whereas the Clippers seem to be going in the right direction. So it's certainly possible, but I'm bullish on the Clippers, and I wonder what's going to happen with the rest of their season.
Yeah, my feelings, like yours, have swung back in the positive direction for the Clippers because of what you mentioned. Sure, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they get the 6th seed, but even just thinking like not at the mountaintop of the apex of their success. Right now, you look at it, Jimmy Butler out for the season with an ACL injury, ACL tear. Portland is right there in the play-in mix, and then it's the Clippers. 2 teams have to make it out of the play-in. Whoever of this jumbled mess of like Phoenix, the Lakers, the Timberwolves, the Rockets even can be included in that mess. Whoever gets the 7 part of that 7-8 matchup, you would have to assume will make the playoff field. And then the Clippers are the second best team on that resume. So they'll go from literally at parts of this season being a bottom 3 team in the NBA to I think they're going to make the top 6 when it's all said and done. I mean, I'm sorry, the top 8 and make the actual playoffs when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, a heck of a turnaround for them. And we talked about this in the last time we recorded together. What did they do at the trade deadline? Because a lot of people viewed that team as, well, you know what? The vultures were circling. We can pick anybody off their roster. Is Zubac going to be traded, et cetera? I don't know. I think they're more likely to be buyers or maybe just stand pat and ride it out. Why not? The chemistry has been great. They've been winning a lot lately. Let them keep it going.
Speaking of confusing teams at the trade deadline, the Chicago Bulls are right back at 500 where all things belong. What are they going to do? What is their direction? No one knows, but we'll try to figure it out coming up on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, I want to tell you right now, but our good friends over at Game Time, go check out Game Time today, because during basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, and the first big round that gets everybody on their feet is why you want to go and why fans want to be there for these moments. Not stuck refreshing screens or trying to guess what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back. It makes it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets fast, simple, and without the guesswork. You can browse on the Game Time app. It's straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps. Seeing the view from your seat before you buy tickets is truly a game changer, especially if you want to hit some NBA arenas you haven't been to yet. You want to see what you're going to get, and you can do that at Game Time. I also love that the prices include fees up front. So the total is clear from the very beginning what you're getting into, no hidden fees at checkout. Whether it's an NBA game or other live event, everything is right there in one place for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets at Game Time today by downloading the Game Time app, creating your account, and using code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create your account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm Ryland, Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. And David, another game on the docket this evening was the Chicago Bulls and the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Target Center. And the Bulls rallied to beat the Timberwolves 120-115 in spite of Julius Randle going off, in spite of 11 lead changes. And once again, David, we're here talking on a Thursday about Minnesota letting go of a double-digit lead. 14-point lead for Minnesota, vanquished, and the Bulls were able to pull this one out. Let's go to Ben Beacon, Locked On T-Wolves, to figure out what happened for Minnesota.
The Minnesota Timberwolves lost their fourth game in a row, falling to the Chicago Bulls by 5 at home on Thursday night. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast. And this was a tough one. The Wolves losing to a team full of apparent trade targets in Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White and Trey Jones. The Wolves got out to a fast start, but Anthony Edwards got into foul trouble. What was a double-digit lead in the first quarter quickly became just 6. And then by halftime, they were only up by a single point. And in the second half, it was back and forth, but it really kind of felt like it was all Bulls. The defensive effort was kind of there because the Bulls shot 33 free throws, but it wasn't because the Wolves were being ultra aggressive. It was because they were grabbing and reaching and hacking and not moving their feet defensively, as effort continues to be a problem on that end of the floor here recently. They didn't get enough offense either. Ant was great early, got into foul trouble, hit the bench early, had only 20 points on 25 shots for the night, 1 of 8 on threes. Not a great Ant performance offensively. And Naz Reid was really the one that kept the Wolves in this game. He left briefly with the shoulder injury again, but finished with 20 points. Was really good in the second half. The Wolves continue to simply have, yes, sometimes an effort problem, but a depth problem, a bench problem. This side of Naz, nobody else did anything on the bench. No other bench player scored more than 3 points. Jean Beringer played just 3 first-half minutes. Mike Conley, Jalen Clark, Bones Hyland combined to shoot 3 of 14 off the Wolves bench. It was Naz, a little bit of Julius Randle, and that was kind of it for the Wolves offense as they lose their 4th in a row. Trade deadline is coming soon.
The trade deadline is coming soon, and the Bulls are going to have to try to make something shake here as a 500 team. So will Minnesota, to see if they can secure up some point guard issues and some holes on their roster. With Minnesota, Ben Beacon has you covered there. Just want to shout out Julius Randle's 30-point effort tonight. Naz Reid hit some big-time threes. Of his 4 threes, like 3 of them are very timely. In that third quarter, got teed up, though, in this game. And ultimately, though, my focus for this game was on the Bulls. Like, what are they doing? They're 500 yet again. They choose to not close with Montes Buzelis, which, as Joel Lorenzi of The Athletic points out, is not a surprise given Billy Donovan's nature and the way that he prioritizes Trey Jones, who's a really nice player for them and played really nice minutes in this game. Josh Giddey returning off the bench, 21 points for him, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in this one while shooting 53% from the floor. I just don't get it. I don't get why they are so committed to mediocrity. I don't get why they're not just like letting a guy like Montes Buzelis sink or swim. Like, what should they be doing, David? Or are you in line with this kind of plan, if you want to call it that?
I don't know, because it feels like I was gonna say Miami, but maybe that's a Freudian slip because they've been in the same boat for the Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, and the Miami Heat, the perennial play-in teams. So I don't know. You look at the Bulls, and it feels like they've never been able to really build anything sustainable. They haven't been able to find that superstar via the draft. They haven't been lucky in any kind of trades or acquisitions or anything like that. So I don't know. It's a team that's been poorly constructed, and yet the players with some potential on this roster, Buzelis, Jones, etc., they're not getting the consistent minutes where they can continue to blossom and things of that sort. So I'm not sure if those players are necessarily good enough to eventually take them out of this wheel of mediocrity that they've been rolling around in for several seasons. But I guess you kind of have to lean into it, or at the very least, if not, and I think this is where I would probably lean. I would probably just start trading these players off and acquiring as many picks as possible to try and clear the decks a little bit. And I know that's easier said than done, because I don't know that the players on that roster are necessarily valuable assets. Like, who on that roster is somebody that a championship contending team or a near contending team is like, oh, I can't wait to get an Ayo Dosunmu on my team or something like that. I don't know that they're necessarily the high value assets that might push a contender to that next level or something like that. So I would kind of blow it up. I think when I look at this Bulls team, they've just been there for so consistently, kind of just a 9-10 seed almost on every year. And to be honest, I think they should just change things around a little bit and try to jettison some of those players to lean into the next phase of development. And I don't know if that's realistic, because again, they've been there for so long. It doesn't seem like they're likely to change. And maybe that's just the way they feel comfortable, trying to win as many games as possible and not succeeding in the process.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. I would even almost, and I know that this sounds really backwards, but I'd almost think that like pennies on the dollars, just get these guys out of there, make room for the young players like Montes, play Montes all the minutes you could possibly can play them. Noah Singay, like play these guys, live and die by them, and then just be bad enough to usher in a completely new era, a completely new core. You take steps backwards to take steps forward. And I think that you have seen in the past, like guys that get traded at the deadline, especially for a future first that doesn't look too appealing. Then all of a sudden you get to that date with how crazy the NBA is, and it's a really appealing pick. I mean, you look at the Thunder facilitating the Daniel Gafford trade with Dallas. At the time, it's like, oh, it's a Dallas 2028 pick. Luka Doncic is awesome. 1 year later, they trade Luka. It's like that Dallas 2028 pick looks pretty good right now, huh? So like you just never know what can happen. You want to give yourself that chance to have something pay off for you in such a big way. But speaking of Dallas and confusing trade deadline teams, it's a confusing day, confusing week, confusing everything. Dallas wins 4 straight. Nick Angstead, Locked On Mavs, has just covered.
Competitive back and forth game. Najee Marshall and the Dallas Mavericks wanted to prove, hey, we're not here to lose games anymore. Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Golden State Warriors. Najee Marshall goes off for 30 points and 9 assists. An incredible game for Najee Marshall, where he was just cutting up the defense. He was getting to the rim. The Warriors don't have a lot of rim protection, and so the knife was cutting through. He was getting to the lane. He was scoring on his floater every single time. He also hit 2 threes. The threes that he has to hit, the ones where he catches the ball, immediately puts it up. Doesn't have time to think about it, just puts it up. Those are the ones Najee Marshall makes. He's only shooting 30% this year, but hitting 2 threes was a big one for him. Cooper Flagg also had 21 points, 11 boards in this one. Struggled to keep the ball. A lot of turnovers, a lot of times the ball was tipped out, but an incredible game where he was just impactful all over the court against the Warriors. Max Christie also massive with 5 threes, had 21 points in this one. And the Mavs were down by 6 with 9:26 left in this game, and then with just like 4 minutes went on a Warriors-esque run to go up 12 with 4:50 left in this game, capped off by a Najee Marshall drive to the rim. An absolutely great game where this Dallas Mavericks team looked inward and said, hey, we got more fight, we got more hustle. They out second chance the Warriors 25-4. That was absolutely a massive difference for this game. And the Mavs did have 22 turnovers. Didn't matter. That's been a big thing, a big problem for them. But the Mavs get this win. Steph Curry, still him. Feel really bad that he's stuck on this team, this Golden State Warriors team.
That's a great way to put it. You feel bad for Steph Curry and what he's dealing with right now. And even, Jonathan Kuminga leaves this game early in this one against Dallas as he demands a trade. But more to come here, including the Washington Wizards, who kept it competitive with the Denver Nuggets. And while Peyton Watson notches a career-high 35 points, Washington kept it close, but Denver wins 107-97. Let's go to the Lockdown Wizards to hear more on this game.
Wizards fall to the Nuggets tonight, 107-97. I'm Ben Schrober from the Lockdown Wizards podcast, breaking it down for you in this one. 2 competitive losses in the same week to the Denver Nuggets. I think an excellent team, I think, could go up there with the best of them in the Western Conference, especially when they get the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, back. But for this Wizards team, it was a bad night for them. Offensively, shooting 36% from the field. One of the worst nights they're going to have shooting the basketball all season. And when you're a young team, stuff like that's going to happen. You have to find ways to compete still. And the Wizards did that through their team defense. I think they've made pretty substantial improvements in team-oriented basketball, especially defensively. They're rotating better. They're better at getting in the help side. And those kind of things matter when you're a young team like the Wizards are. Trey Johnson scored 19 tonight. 10 of those came in the third quarter. So a little bit unfortunate to get to see him take over the game in the fourth, but that's the way it goes. Another competitive loss. That's 8 in a row for the Wizards.
You like to see that they're competing in these losses, and that's kind of the sweet spot for Washington right now in their current rebuild phase. But what's not a sweet spot is what's happening in Orlando. The Magic have an identity problem. We're going to talk about that with Philip Rossman-Reich of Locked On Magic coming up after this. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at FanDuel, folks, it's Friday. It's Friday. Yeah, it's Friday, folks. And Fridays always feel different during basketball season, but FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. FanDuel's from 6 to 7 on the Friday app from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with the NBA Happy Hour on Fridays. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour gives you something brand new. From 6 to 7:30 Eastern, you will have boosts, bonus bets, surprises, and so much more. It's easy to check the weekly specials before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect, right before games tip off, right before the weekend starts. It adds a little extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back on Locked On NBA Game Night on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm Ryland Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. David, the Orlando Magic might have an identity problem, at least Philip Rossman-Reich thinks, though, after the Hornets were able to go into Orlando and win 124-97. Let's go out to Locked On Magic to hear more.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic here at the Kia Center as the Orlando Magic fall to the Charlotte Hornets 124-97. A game that, frankly, the score does not reflect how much the Hornets dominated the Magic for the second straight time here at the Kia Center. The Magic just didn't show up. From the very beginning, the Hornets hit 9 3-pointers, 9 of 14 from 3 in the first quarter. And this team isn't equipped to keep up with that kind of firepower, but they just didn't even try. Down 21 at halftime, Orlando didn't even cut into the deficit. They got it to 19 at one point. 19. They trailed by 30 after 3 quarters. And frankly, I've said this a million times, and the Magic were really terrible. 30-point losses and blowout losses like this say more about the losing team than they do the winning team. And what does this loss say about the Magic? This is a team that doesn't have an identity. It's a team that doesn't have leadership. It's a team that doesn't know who they are. With Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs out, the Orlando Magic have lost a lot of their heartbeat, and they've lost a lot of what makes them special. The defense wasn't there. The offense certainly wasn't there. The star power certainly wasn't there from Paolo Banchero, even though he had a nice game at the end. It's all the problems. It's all the things that everyone seems to criticize this Magic team about. This is the Magic at their worst, and they have to hope that this is as low as it gets. They're not out of anything. They're still kind of trading wins and losses right now. They traded a 2-game win streak for a 2-game losing streak. But this is a pretty harrowing and frustrating defeat at home for the Orlando Magic.
Wow. That is intense. And trust me, the Thunder are recently on the wrong side of a blowout loss to the Charlotte Hornets. So everybody knows how this can feel. But Con Knipple in this game only had 13 points. Miles Bridges had 10, but it was a collective effort. It's like Diabate had 10 points. Brandon Miller had 20. LaMelo Ball had 16. Cockburner had 10. Colin Sexton had 19 off the bench. Dejan Salon had 13 off the bench. The Magic, they are another team like the Clippers we talked about earlier, that preseason, it felt like everybody was extremely high on Orlando. It's like they're for sure top 4 seed. They got Desmond Bane. They're for sure going to be a home court advantage seed in the Eastern Conference, right? And here they are, breaking up the party in the play-in tournament. They're joining the likes of Miami and Atlanta and Chicago in this play-in tournament right now. Where's the truth at, David? Because obviously the truth is not as bad as getting blown out by the Hornets, but also the truth doesn't seem as good as being a top 3 seed, and it's oftentimes in the middle. Like, where do you fall on this Magic? Where do they lean closer to?
I think they're more of what we expected them to be at the beginning of the season. I just think that losing Wagner and then Suggs for as long as they have, like they're both so crucial to what they bring to the table, in terms of Wagner's playmaking and scoring ability and Suggs' defense and his overall leadership and everything else like that. So you're missing 2 key components. Like Anthony Black has some potential, and a lot of people have talked about him lately, and he's had some solid production, but I don't think that he's ready to assume that role just yet. He's a little too young and a little too unpolished. So I think they're better. Like even in today's game, like they held Charlotte to just 79 field goal attempts. It didn't matter. They still wound up scoring 120 something points because, well, they got to the line a whole heck of a lot with Orlando's defense being what it is and being as physical as they have been. But I think they're still a good, solid team, just missing some key players at this point in time. And as long as they come back healthy, I'm pretty certain that they'll make a second half surge in the season, and they'll probably be back closer to one of those top 5 seeds in the East rather than a play-in tournament team.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think that, obviously this is a low identity point for the Magic, as Philip points out, but I do believe that they're going to rally out, especially post All-Star break, and become closer to the team that we expected them to. Perhaps they can't get all the way to the home court advantage line, although I don't think that's out of the question by any means.
Not at all.
But I do think that they will for sure be back into the top 6 officially by the time that the season ends. But a team that is not going to rally, it doesn't want to rally, is the Utah Jazz, as a 25-point night from Ace Bailey gets spoiled by the Spurs with De'Aaron Fox and Victor going off. Let's go to David Locke, Locked On Jazz, to hear more about Ace Bailey's night and the rest of the Jazz.
The Utah Jazz and the San Antonio Spurs were tied heading to the fourth quarter, and it was possible that the Jazz were going to knock off another top Western Conference team without Lauri Markkanen. Not tonight. The Jazz offense went cold in the fourth quarter, scoring just 17 points, and the Spurs outscored them 29-17 to win this one, 126-109. Ace Bailey had a career-high 25 for the Jazz and 11 of 16 shooting, while Jusuf Nurkic had a triple-double for the second straight night for the Jazz, the first member of the Jazz franchise since Pete Maravich in 1975 to have back-to-back games with a triple-double, and the 14 assists by Nurkic are the most ever by a Jazz center in NBA history. Game swung late when Mitch Johnson moved Victor Wembanyama off Jusuf Nurkic, closing up some of those cutting lanes for the Jazz, moving him to whoever's on the corner, and the Jazz offense had a tough time adjusting. Few turnovers late in the ball game, and they fell short. De'Aaron Fox then went nuts from 3, hitting 6 threes in the game, scoring 31 points to lead the way. Victor Wembanyama also had 26 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 blocks, 2 of which he just caught out of midair. Jazz fall to the Spurs tonight, 126-109.
De'Aaron Fox did go nuts tonight, but obviously, David, the Jazz are not a team that's expecting and wanting to win very many games, but what a run that they've been on with Nurk, who had a triple-double, as David mentioned, and how historic that is. But like Keontae George has really turned a corner this season for this franchise. You feel really good about where you're at with Ace Bailey as like the prized pick of course, last year's draft class for the Jazz, but also the prized prospect of this whole kind of grouping here for Utah, along with Keontae George. And they at least compete every single night. Now they got to finagle the injury report in all likelihood, right? Like they're going to make some decisions of who to rest and who to sit, who to play. But whoever they roll out there, they do compete night in and night out. And that's pretty impressive for a team that is viewed upon as a tanking team and a team that needs to lose to keep their pick, frankly.
Yeah, I guess it's building good habits, right? Even though you're actively trying to lose game, you still want to at least establish a baseline for competition and competitiveness moving forward, knowing that some of the young players in this roster are likely to be part of this phase of the rebuild and moving forward into whatever the next phase of it is. So it's good to see. I think you don't look at this team and I think put them in the same circle as, say, the Washington Wizards, right? That team is probably not in the same direction as much as they've been competitive of late. I still don't see them really being all that competitive. And the Jazz at least have knocked off a couple games here and there, and they've won against some good teams, and then they've figured it out. But at the end of the day, usually those fourth quarters are pretty decisive in determining that the Utah Jazz just really can't compete with some of the better teams there, nor do they want to. But at least, again, have shown some spirit of late.
Yeah, and showing spirit is important. And as David put it, De'Aaron Fox did, in fact, go nuts tonight. 31 points, 76% from the floor, 66% from three on 9 attempts, hitting 6 triples in this one with 5 assists and 5 rebounds. Victor had 26 and 14. Julian Champagny had 17 points on 5 for 9 shooting from beyond the arc for that sharpshooter. I really like everything that this San Antonio Spurs team is, which is not exactly a hot take. But as we near in the trade deadline, David, I don't touch this team at all. If I was in San Antonio, I just let this team ride.
Absolutely. The chemistry is good. They're getting key contributions from role players. Like as long as Wembanyama is able to stay healthy, I don't see any reason why they can't be one of the better teams out in the West. And I don't see any reason to make any kind of changes right now. They've got a good young core. They've got the right cast, the right chemistry. Everything seems to be breaking right. You don't want to mess with that at this point in time. And San Antonio typically not a team that does so. I wouldn't expect any kind of changes for that roster.
Two teams that maybe aren't as definitively staying pat at the trade deadline here in a couple of weeks, your Miami Heat and the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers get their 4th win in a row, winning 127-110 in Portland as the Miami Heat fall to the Trail Blazers. What'd you see from both these teams tonight, David, and kind of what led to Portland getting the better of Miami?
Well, Avdija was fantastic early on, and then he goes out early in this game due to a back injury, but it didn't matter because Shaedon Sharpe wound up carrying the torch, and he was absolutely ridiculous. 27 points, 11 of 21 overall, 5 of 9 from three-point range. A lot of that damage coming in the third and fourth quarter when Miami's offense really seemed to just go completely stale there, especially in the fourth. This Heat team continues to be on a massive roller coaster. They have some good wins, including one against your Thunder in Miami, and then they go and drop the game against the Warriors, and then they go beat the Kings, and then they go lose to the Blazers. So it's hard to kind of see exactly what this Heat team is because they've been so inconsistent. They haven't been getting any kind of steady offense. Only 20% from three-point range today. They absolutely got crushed in the rebounding battle. And without those rebounding opportunities to create second chance opportunities, second chance points, they get killed. No transition game. They just had nothing going. And when you can't rely on any kind of consistent three-point shot, you're going to get beat badly the way they did tonight. So Portland, a good, solid team that continues to get better. Miami, inconsistent, and that's all you can really say about them. Who knows what they'll do with the trade deadline?
We'll have to wait and see. We'll be here trade deadline day to recap everything that happens that Thursday on February 5th. Another show in between now and then, but we're here every single Thursday on Locked On NBA Game Night. And Locked On NBA Game Night is here every single day, Monday through Sunday, recapping everything that happens around the entire NBA. So make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to that. For David Ramil of Locked On Heat, I'm Ryland Stiles of Locked On Thunder. Until tomorrow, be good and be good to one another.